Welcome to my tutorial on the Eaton 18-speed transmission. Now, I have to say this is my favorite transmission between ETS and ATS. Probably because it holds a kind of special place in my heart. My grandfather actually taught me to drive it on the farm, and I drove it for quite a while for the family. So it does kind of bring back a lot of memories for me. So I wanted to quickly go over the control settings and show you how the H shifter is set up for the Eaton 18. Of course, shifter layout is set to Eaton 18 speed. Shifter layout behavior I have set to advanced. That, of course, it allows me to set this next option. Now, there are a few different ways that you can set that up. You can set it up for clutch press, throttle release, or clutch or throttle. And in the US, it does use clutch or throttle, meaning that to do your splits, you can either just let up off the gas real quick and then put the gas back on, and your split will, your gear will be split. Or you can actually do a clutch press to split your gears. Now, your shifter positions, I have nothing in reverse. If you have something there, it's not a big deal, as long as it's not one of the other shifter positions. If it's one of the other shifter positions, just make sure you hit unassign and unassign it. Other than that, the shifter positions 1 through 6, if you've seen my other videos on ETS2, it's quite simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then shifter toggle 1 and shifter toggle 2. Now, these are, shifter toggle 1 is going to be referred to as the range from here on out, and shifter toggle 2 will be referred to as the splitter from here on out. Now, you will notice if you play ETS2 that this is reversed, because normally your splitter would be in shifter toggle 1 and your range would be in shifter toggle 2. So make sure that if you copied your config files over, that you actually switch those, because your splits and range will be different if you don't change those. So my shifter toggle 2, which is going to be the splitter, is actually set to my toggle switch on the side here. My shifter toggle 1 is set to my toggle switch on the front here. So this being my splitter, this being my range. And then, of course, if you watch my other videos, shifter toggles use switch mode. I have that checked. That just simply is letting the system know that I'm actually using toggle switches. Now, if you are using a key press, it's going to work basically exactly the same way that my toggle switches work, except for the fact that when you press your button once, it's going to be like me putting my toggle position in one direction, and then when you hit your key press again, it's going to be like me putting my toggle back in the other position. So the only other thing you can see here, I have an automatic gearbox set there. I was driving a few different transmissions the other day, and I just didn't want to switch between them, so I had those set. So I'm just going to unassign those, so there's nothing there. So that's pretty much it for the control settings. Now we'll get into the shifter layout. Okay, before I grabbed a load and got on the road and showed you that, I wanted to just quickly go through the gear pattern with you and show you how the Eaton 18 is set up. So if I have my splitter in low and my range in low, and I come all the way over to the left and up, you'll see it puts me in reverse 1 low. If I then hit my splitter, it puts me in reverse 1 high. If I then come back out of the neutral, put my splitter into low, and then put my range into high, over to the left again and up into the same slot, it puts me in reverse 2 low. If I then hit my splitter, it puts me in reverse 2 high. So the Eaton Fuller 18 speed has 4 reverse gears. So if I then put my range into low and my splitter back into low, if I come over to the left and back, you'll see it puts me in low, low. If I then hit my splitter, it puts me into low, high. Now, if you've seen either one of my videos on a 12+2 transmission for ETS2, this is what would be the crawler gears in that. These are your very low range gears for either starting you out with inclines or massive amounts of weight or other such where you need a lot of torque. And so that's the 2 low gears that it has. Now if I come back out into neutral, put my splitter back into low, and I go straight up into the middle, you'll see it puts me into 1 low. I then hit my splitter into high, it's going to put me into 1 high. Back out into neutral, put my splitter back into low, pull straight back into the middle, it's going to put me into 2 low. If I then hit my splitter into high, it's going to put me into 2 high. Back out into neutral, put my splitter back into low, go all the way over to the right and up, it's going to put me in 3 low. If I then hit my splitter, it's going to put me into 3 high. Back out into neutral again, put my splitter into low, over to the right and back, it's going to put me into 4 low. If I then hit my splitter, it's going to put me into 4 high. If I then come back out of the neutral, put my splitter into low, and then put my range into high, and I go straight up into that middle slot, it's going to put me into 5 low. If I then hit my splitter, it's going to put me into 5 high. Back out of the neutral, put my splitter back into low again, pull straight back into the middle, it's going to put me into 6 low. If I then hit my splitter, it's going to put me into 6 high. Back out in the neutral, put my splitter into low, over to the right and up, you'll see it puts me into 7 low. If I then hit my splitter, it's going to put me into 7 high. Back out in the neutral, put my splitter into low, all the way over to the right and back, and you'll see it puts me in 8 low. If I then hit my splitter, it's going to put me into 8 high. So that's the gear pattern. So you've basically got 4 gears for each of your positions, equaling 16 gears. And then you've got your 2 low gears, equaling your 18. So I guess if it was European, it would probably be called a 16 plus 2, because those are actually crawler gears. They're the low gears. And then of course you've got your 4 reverse gears. So that's how the shift pattern works. Now I'll grab a load and get out on the road and show you how that works hauling an actual load. Okay, I've actually grabbed a load and driven out onto the highway to show you how the gear pattern works. Now, it's worth noting that I'm showing you what is called a synchronous transmission, which is what European trucks use. It's an easier method. An actual US truck, and actually how I drive this when I drive it, is I drive it as a non-synchronous transmission. But what that entails is you have to match your RPMs and your speed, and it's a lot harder to drive it that way. So I didn't want to have to burden you with actually learning a non-synchronous transmission, because that's a whole different ballgame. So what I'm showing you today is, I guess you could call it a European U.S. hybrid, because U.S. trucks do use a non-synchronous transmission. And most people that drive an ATS, they drive as a synchronous transmission. So that's how I'm gonna show you this. So we're gonna start out over into low, clutch out, get going here. I'm gonna put my splitter into high. Now I'm not gonna mess with my clutch at all. I'm just gonna leave my foot off the clutch, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift my accelerator foot, and it's gonna shift me into high. So then I put my splitter back into low. I'm going to clutch in. I'm going to go up into the middle into one low. Then I'm going to hit my splitter into high. Again, I'm not going to touch the clutch. What I'm going to do is just let out on the accelerator. It's going to shift me into one high. Put my splitter back into low. Clutch in, pull straight back into the middle into two low. Put my splitter into high. Again, just lift up off the accelerator, and it's going to put me into two high. Put my splitter back into low. Clutch in, over to the right, up into three low. Again, hit my splitter into high, lift up off the accelerator, putting me into three high. Put my splitter into low. Clutch in, pull straight back into four low. Splitter into high, accelerator up, putting me into four high. Now I'm going to hit my splitter into low, my range into high. I'm going to clutch in, over, up into the middle, into five low. Put my splitter into high, again just lift up off the accelerator, shifting me into five high. Put my splitter back into low, clutch in, pull straight back into six low, splitter into high, lift up off the accelerator, six high. Put my splitter into low, clutch in, over into seven low. Put my splitter into high. Lift up off the accelerator into seven high. Put my splitter into low. RPM's up here. Clutch in, pull straight back. Whoop, we got a little traffic jam here. Okay, so we had one of our ATS random events there. Okay, so we're going to get back into 7 high where we were. Put my splitter into low. Clutch in, pull back into 8 low. Put my splitter into high. Again, lift up off the accelerator, putting me into 8 high for my final gear. So there's the full range of gears, and of course, just like the European trucks, you don't have to use every single one, and I'll show you that actually right now. By the way, I love the sound of the Jake's brake, so I'm gonna go ahead and come to a stop here. I did grab a bulldozer, so it's pretty heavy. So it does use quite a bit more of the gear range. Now, you'll notice if you've watched some of my other videos, as I go through the bottom end of the gear range, I generally do not split my gears. The only time I split gears is when I have to. And that's kind of the way it's made. That's why it's made with the splitter. So that if you don't have to, then you don't have to split those gears. And so we're going to start out in one low here. We're going to clutch out and get going. Clutch in, pull back into 2 low. Clutch in, over into 3 low. Clutch in, back into 4 low. Put my range up. Clutch in, over into the middle into 5 low. Clutch in, pull back into 6 low. Now that I'm in 6, I'm going to start splitting my gears. So when I get to around 1500 RPM, lift up off the accelerator, split my gear into 6 high. Put my splitter into low. Clutch in, over into 7 low. My splitter into high. Lift up off the accelerator, 7 high. Now it's going to take us a minute to get within range of 8 low, because we are on a pretty steep incline here. I'm going to crest this hill first. Clutch in, splitter into low, pull straight back into 8 low. Put my splitter into high. Lift up off the accelerator, putting me into 8 high, my final gear. So there you have it. There is the Eaton Fuller 18 speed. The apple of my eye, I guess you could say. I absolutely love the transmission. I love driving it. I love driving it in real life, and I love driving it in game. So I hope it helped you out, and I hope you enjoyed the